Hey, so we just wanted to talk to you today about Denver and answer a couple of questions that we got a lot of in the comments of the other Denver videos. So this video is not going to be a technical deep dive like you're used to, but I think it's going to be really cool to talk about this because, I don't know, your questions were good and they deserve answers. So there's two things I want to cover. Number one is the question of how do y'all get funding for this? And number two is the question of are you going to link the two museums? So let's jump right in and cover number one first. So in the first couple of videos, a couple of people came in to the comments and asked, "Oh my God, how are you funding this? Are you independently wealthy?" And I thought about that comment and how to address it. That's a fair question. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We are operating in the public interest. So I feel like our friends and donors deserve to know how exactly we fund stuff. And most nonprofits, ours included, have a pretty wide donor base, right? But they kind of fall into two categories. You have your big money donors, and there's usually like 1 to 4 of those, right? And then you have the 99% of the rest of your donors, which are like sort of the bread and butter, $5 a week type of donations. So why is that? And how does that impact us? And how does that really make any sense? So when I was thinking about how to talk about this, I was thinking about like the NPR model or the public radio model or the public TV model. And, you know, when you listen to a program or watch a program, it's like, you know, this program is made possible in part from a grant by the blah foundation, doing stuff and blah. And then, you know, the program starts, right? And then like those people are the big donors. Like they're donating millions of dollars for some certain programming or for some certain thing. And in the art world, it's the same thing in an art museum, right? Where, okay, we want to open a new wing in our art museum. And in order to get the capital to do that, to like make this really big one-time investment in this process, we need to go into our big donors and ask them for some help, right? But once that wing is open, you need to continue being a museum for the indefinite future. And the way that you do that is your average daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, regular amount donors, which are in reality the thing that keeps you open. And THG, the nonprofit that runs this museum, and currently, or very soon, Connections Colorado, THG was able to reach out to some big donors to help us out with the Denver Museum. But in order to get these anonymous donors to put forward the initial capital to purchase the building in Colorado, those donors generally want to see that they're donating to a healthy organization, right?
Yeah, there's no desire for someone to give all their money to create a new project and then find out after the fact that nobody wanted it in the first place. And that is something that even very small contributions to the nonprofit organization can really make a difference on. That is an important contribution that anyone can make, to be able to say, like, this is an important thing to me, and I'm really glad that you are continuing to do this work. And that is, you know, for instance, if you're talking about like NPR and stuff, that's why there's sometimes pledge drives where there's some matching up to a certain amount. There's some matching funds up to a certain amount from a larger donor, for all of those individual contributions, because that's really saying, like, this is not only something that one person is contributing to, which kind of makes you not eligible to be a nonprofit in the first place. That's a separate thing.
Right.
But that allows that eligibility to like criteria to be met. But it also says like this is a real community, like this is valuable to everybody involved.
So that's an important point. And in other words, sort of like when we wanted to, when this museum in Colorado was still like a twinkle in our eye, we sort of were able to go to our big anonymous donors and say, hey, we want to make this happen and we think it's going to be successful. And here's why. Because look at our attendance in Seattle. Look at the number of donors we have year over year, and look at the number of subscribers on our YouTube channel or the number of followers we have on Mastodon or whatever. Like we could easily make the case, because of you folks, we could easily make the case that their donation was going to be substantial and was going to have a lasting impact, not just to get a building, but to keep this place going. So bottom line is that your donations matter, and they matter a lot. And I mean that, like, really. Like, the 5, 10, 20 bucks that you drop in the box, like Claire said, the PayPal, whatever, like, that matters. The subscriptions matter. The subscriptions to the YouTube channel, the Cotton Viewer purchases, whatever, those matter. Because those are the things that help us sustain this organization for the indefinite future. And like Claire said, we don't want this to be Sarah's nonprofit or Claire's nonprofit. That's
not that either of us are the primary contributors to the organization.
Right. But like that's not healthy, right? And we've seen nonprofits that are out there in the world right now, or that were out there in the world, that were primarily the brainchild of one person. And when that one person dies, their entire collection disappears. Because even though there was a lot of interest, there was one person who was effectively funding the whole thing.
Yeah, it's really difficult to sustain organizations or even just collections of objects, no matter how valuable, without a large group of committed people and a decentralized network of people supporting those people as well.
Yeah,
there's a lot of different organizations that have been suffering lately, and that's really sad to see. But we are in a position here in Seattle and now in Colorado and the Denver area to be able to sustain our organization with a redundancy that's really, really exciting. And I mean, this place is very different than what I can only suspect it was when you started volunteering here 10 years ago. And there's a lot of work that went into making this a sustainable, lasting organization with a bright future.
Right. So thank you for your support over all these years, because it really matters, and that support is going to matter going forward as even more and more and more exciting things come down the pike, because we are not stopping with Connections Colorado. There is other stuff happening that we can't really announce yet, but that support means so much to us every day. So this question was totally on a different track, but are you going to connect the two museums together? And when I first read that question, I was like, I kind of laughed, because to me it was like,
of course
you are.
They're the Connections Museum.
But so the way that I interpreted it, and so many of you asked this question, so it's not just one person, but the way that I interpret this question is like, so are you going to take your new sports car out for a drive? Or are you just going to leave it in the box? And it's like, no, of course we're going to go drive it. Like, that's what it's for. So yes, absolutely. Connecting the two museums together is like very, very, very early on the list of things that we want to do. And yes, we're totally capable of doing it using Asterisk, SIP, IAX, VoIP, whatever. That's that's easy. Like, that's the easy part. We want to have obviously direct, or as close to direct as possible, trunks between the switches here and there. I want to have tie lines. Speaking of tie lines, BRB.
Telemarketers.
Okay.
They're on hold.
Speaking of, we're also going to have direct tie lines between the museums. So like I could be at the test frame here and I could just flick a key and it lights up a lamp and a buzzer at the test frame over there. We're gonna have like all of that. This is like, that's a big reason of why we do this, because we really like when I like operate a key over here and something happens over there. There's a certain delight we all take in that. So I think that flipping a key in this museum and having a phone ring in the Colorado Museum is like, of course we're doing that. And not only is it happening, but it is really, really sort of trivial for us to do because this is what we're good at. Like, this is our bread and butter. The harder part that we're actually worried about is, building it and doing all of the paperwork and all of the other stuff that needs to happen to make a real thing manifest in the world. That's going to be significantly more complex and significantly more time consuming. So we're going to get back to it right after coffee. See you later.